So one of the big themes that's very fascinating in your story is using franchising as an exit plan from corporate life. For someone who's listening right now and maybe stuck in the 9 to 5 grind, even though it's a high-paying job, how does franchising realistically become a bridge to freedom?
Well, let's talk about two separate ways, and I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about people outside of the United States. And we talked about this before. I mean, Stephanie, I still believe that the United States is still the engine of entrepreneurship on a global stage, right? So if someone wants to potentially emigrate to the United States, there are numerous methods, right? You could potentially marry an American. That's possible, right? That's one way to come to the United States. Another way is as a student. But another way is something called an EB-5 visa, which many people are familiar with, which is really, really expensive. We're talking about millions of dollars and waiting a couple of years. But one thing that people don't understand, or I was kind of blown away when I heard about this, is something called an E2 visa. The E2 visa is something that is in about 140 different countries.
Welcome to the Bricks and Banks podcast, where real estate meets real wealth. Whether you're building from the ground up or stacking your paper to the ceiling, Steph breaks down property power plays and money moves you can act on. From first-time buyers to seasoned investors, this podcast is your blueprint for financial freedom through real estate, business, and investment. Subscribe now. It's time to build your future. This is Bricks and Banks with Steph.
Before we dive into the conversation, I want to let you know that this episode is a paid partnership with BetterHelp. You know what's interesting? We all have these patterns in our lives. The ways we react when we are stressed out, hurt, or disappointed. Maybe shutting people out or walking yourself into exhaustion. Or that voice in your head that says you're not good enough. For me, it's shutting people out. And here is the thing. We know that these patterns aren't helping us. We can see them clearly, but breaking them, that's a completely different story. I used to think I could just power through on my own, that time will heal everything, or I just needed to be stronger. But the truth is, some cycles are nearly impossible to break on your own. Not because you're weak, but because you're so close to see the full picture. That's why having outside support, real professional support, becomes a game changer. When you have someone who is trained to help you understand why these patterns exist and give you actual tools to help change them, everything shifts. You're not just surviving anymore, you're actually on your path to healing. That's why I'm partnering with BetterHelp today. BetterHelp is on a mission to make starting therapy easier. They will connect you with a credentialed therapist who is trained to listen to you and give you helpful, unbiased advice, ensuring confidentiality throughout the process. You just get to fill out a questionnaire and you'll be matched with a therapist as soon as possible. And if that's not the right fit, don't fret. You can easily switch therapists at any time at no extra cost. To get started, head on to betterhelp.com/bricks and banks. That is betterhelp.com/bricks and banks to get 10% off your very first month of therapy. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description so you can get right on. Breaking the cycle starts with one step, and this could be yours. Going to therapy is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. BetterHelp makes therapy simple with 10% off your first month of therapy to help you get started. So what are you waiting for? Remember, you don't have to do this alone. A problem shared is a problem half solved. And we are live. Hey everyone, welcome to another amazing episode of the Bricks and Banks podcast. I am your host, Stephanie, and today's guest is someone who knows exactly what it takes to break free from the golden handcuffs of corporate America and build a life on your own terms. Adam Goldman is a franchise consultant. He's an investor. He's the best-selling author of the Franchisee Lifestyle. That's a book. He's helped hundreds of professionals transition from employees to business owner. He's very passionate about the American dream, and I love that for it. And through his company, Franchise Visa, he guides international investors in securing U.S. residency through franchise ownership. Adam is not just teaching theory, he's lived it. He's built and scaled a multi-million-dollar franchise operation, exited successfully, and now helps others find the right franchise fit to create freedom. On top of that, he's a father of three. He's passionate about building an integrated life where vision, family, health, and business all come together. This conversation is going to open your eyes to franchising as a powerful investment strategy and your tickets out of the 9 to 5. So welcome, Adam, to the show.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Wow, your story is very mind-blowing and your profile it's just wonderful. Why did you say, oh, you're not going to stay in the corporate America anymore? Why did you have to leave that goal
Well,
for
look,
the rest
I
of
mean,
us?
I never fit into corporate America, right? So it wasn't a matter of staying or
How
not.
so, Adam? You can't be humble. You can't be humble.
I just did it. I mean, it is what it is. When I graduated from
Mm,
college, I
okay.
was recruited by a couple of companies and it just didn't seem very interesting. So then I moved to Europe. And then also after I graduated from business school, other
Okay.
people were looking to join different companies like McKinsey or Boston Consulting Group. And again, that didn't necessarily fit me either. So I guess you could call me a corporate refugee.
That's a new one, corporate refugee. I mean, you found refuge in the arms of entrepreneurship and you're thriving in it, and you're here to tell us how to go about it. I titled today's episode, Escaping Corporate America, Building Wealth and Freedom Through Franchising with Adam Goldman. So let's rewind a bit. You started out corporate America with some pretty solid roles because you have a lot of metrics to your account. And I'm like, that's why I said you can't be humble, Adam. You scaled through, you thrived in corporate America, really. But eventually you decided that that path wasn't for you. What was the turning point that made you realize that you needed to build something of your own?
Look, I mean, what I can tell you is this, that look, I'm trying to think about a specific moment that it's my
Uh-huh.
own. You know, I think it was in Poland, right? Where
Okay.
I'm here, I kind of had this light bulb go off. This really famous person by the name of Peter Drucker talked
Okay.
about, I think he was a visionary business leader. And his
Uh-huh.
whole thesis in the late 1990s is that companies were really good at analyzing information inside of their company, but they weren't really good at analyzing information outside. And that kind of, I read this article and I'm like, wait a second here. There's really an opportunity in Poland for starting a
Mm,
business where you take scanning data from different retail chains like Macro, right? And
okay.
allow consumer goods companies like Procter and Gamble to figure out what's going on a timely basis. And that's really what Market IQ was.
So what role were you doing in Poland at the time?
At the time, I was working for a company called United Transfer. And what we
Mm,
did is we did business intelligence where we were doing different analysis of internal company data to be able to see
wow.
how things are going and allow people to look at that information. But I realized that the marketplace was changing and it made more sense to focus on external data.
So at the time you left the corporate world, were you were your colleagues or your peers at the time, were they also leaving, or you were the pioneer of that move within
So,
your?
good question. What happened is a couple of my friends that were working at United Transfer decided to come to Market IQ with me, which is
Oh,
great. Those
okay.
are my colleagues. My friends that were either in Poland or in the United States. Look, if you were an expat in
Mm-hmm.
Poland in the late 1990s, what you were finding is that your job prospects inside of corporations, multinational corporations, were really just kind of drying up because what happened was a lot of locals started taking these roles. So a lot
Oh,
of
I
them
see.
actually were pretty entrepreneurial just out of necessity.
Um, Winding a bit, let's take you a bit
Sure.
back to while you were in college and whatnot. What was the goal for you at the time to be? What was your ambition? What did you want to achieve with your career? What sort of career was enticing to you? And how did you pivot from that learning curve into entrepreneurship? Because you've lived and worked on different continents. So what's that
So
thing that appealed most to you at that time? Sorry.
So Stephanie, these are great questions, and you're taking me back. And look, I
Yes.
mean, what I can tell you is that as a college student, I
Mm,
really, frankly, wasn't thinking very far ahead. I was just trying to do things that were exciting and interesting. And
okay.
I was in a fraternity house at the University of
Mm,
Illinois, and I
nice.
just think Animal House, the famous movie with John Belushi. But my point is that I was just looking for things that were fun, and business really interested me, specifically entrepreneurship. And one of my
Mm,
favorite experiences as a student was it's amazing what a college student will do in exchange for a 2-liter bottle of soda or pop, is what we call it. So, literally, the whole thing was I got my friends to go to a high traffic area. And
Mm.
what we did was in exchange for someone getting Mountain Dew or Pepsi or Dr. Pepper, people would fill out and give out their whole life or their information in exchange
Wow.
in actual to fill out a credit card application. And we were making like thousands of dollars a day with this job. It was amazing.
Wow. Were you just doing it yourself at the time, or you had your friends to do work with?
My friends were my employees.
Now that's a different level of high. That's amazing. So one of the big themes that's very fascinating in your story is using franchising as an exit plan for corporate life. For someone who is listening right now and might be stuck in the 9 to 5 grind, even though it's a high paying job, how does franchising realistically become a bridge to freedom?
Well, let's talk about two separate ways. And I'm glad you brought that
Okay.
up. Let's talk about
Okay.
people outside of the United States. And we talked about this before. I mean, Stephanie, I still believe that the United States is still the engine of entrepreneurship on a global stage, right?
Yeah.
So if
Is it?
someone wants to potentially emigrate to the United States, there are
Mm,
numerous methods, right? You could potentially marry an American. That's possible, right? That's one way to come to the United States. Another way is as a student.
mm,
But another way is something called an EB-5 visa, which many people are familiar with, which is really, really expensive. We're talking about millions of dollars and waiting a couple of years. But one thing that people don't understand, or I was kind of blown away when I heard about this, it's something called an E2 visa. The E2
okay.
visa is something that is in about 140 different countries. And the basics of the visa, we're happy to kind of dig further into it, is that if you invest and create American jobs, you could do it for as little
Mm.
as about $125,000 all in. Then you and your family all get a visa to come to the United States.
Cool. So that's basically like an investor pathway into the
Yes, that's
US.
correct. And I've never had anyone not approved for this visa.
Yeah, you're bringing value to the country, so why not? But so a lot of people right now, because the government is clamping down on immigrants in the country, how would you position this as a strategy for them to like get a proper stay? Because I know a lot of people can be on might have improper documentation and run the risk of getting deported. So what's the
So it's
strategy for them at this point with your company?
So I can't speak for people that are, frankly, none of my candidates were people that were here illegally in the United States or
Oh,
anything like that. It was more a situation where people are looking to emigrate to the United States and they want to do it the right way. Right. So
okay.
and there's just no way. I mean, what I would say is that there is not, in my understanding, is there is no sort of issues with people that are here legally. And
Mm,
we want people that are going to create jobs, create American jobs. That's what the E2 visa is. You literally are coming to a consulate and saying, hey,
okay.
here's my proven franchise business. These are how many people that I'm looking to hire in the United States. This is the amount of money I'm investing. Please approve this.
Yeah. So what can you just walk us through your process basically from vetting down to the visa? Do you get lawyers in for these people or how does it work?
Sure. So if someone's potentially interested in emigrating to the United States legally, and by the way,
Mm,
Stephanie, I'd say that the big reason why people come, it's not about
mm,
themselves necessarily. It's most about legacy. Many people, either in Canada
okay.
or the UK or other places, say, look, I
Mhm.
like this place. I especially like it when the weather's not foggy, right? Or but I really want the best for my kids. I feel like from an education perspective, both undergrad and high school, I just want them to have the American dream, right? To have
Same.
a great education. So what happens is they go ahead and they fill out a survey that takes about 5 or 10 minutes. And
Okay.
then we have a more in-depth conversation. And then I give them the top 3 brands, right? And then they decide which one of these 3 brands are a good fit for them. And then they go to
Mm,
an E2 attorney, which I can refer to my candidates. And
okay.
based on consulate, they're able to really get that visa within 1 to 2 months.
Wow. So is there a monetary threshold they should have in place before they start speaking to you?
They need at least $125,000 in cash.
Nice. Okay, aside the money, do you guys have to vet like a business plan? Do they have to bring forward like a business plan that they need to to see that it's viable, because anybody can have that money and they don't really have any plans to start a business in the country.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Stephanie, because that's
Yeah.
why franchising is such a great, it's almost like peas and carrots, as far as Gump would say, when it comes to, because this application, because when you're coming to the consulate and you say to them, hey, this is my business, right? And
Yeah.
this is this business that's proven, and they already have 100 other franchisees. I'm going to be franchisee number 101. And here is the model. Here's my first client, right? That's the reason why no one's ever been not approved, right? Why
Rejected.
all of my
Yeah.
candidates have been approved.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, that makes
As
sense
as
because
as opposed to going to a consulate and saying, I'm an IT person from Canada, and I've never
yeah.
actually owned my own business, and I'm planning on potentially hiring a couple people. Those get denied.
Okay, yeah, you have to bring proof to it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So a lot of our audience are real estate investors and business people who already think in terms of cash flow and assets. Where do you see franchising fitting into an investor's portfolio alongside real estate and the stock markets?
So great question. I'm a huge believer in multiple streams of income, right?
Uh-huh.
So what I mean by that is if I'm only invested in the NASDAQ in the United States, I'm pretty
Yeah.
foolish, right? Because yes, it might have done great, but I got to have some exposure. And I just see franchising as being another asset class potentially.
Mm.
But the one difference between this and other classes is it's not an absentee investment. It's something that you need to spend at least some time on. And I just think it's for the right person, either if they're already in the United States or if
Yeah.
someone looking to emigrate. I think it's a really good thing to kind of add to your mix, especially if you have the right skill set. And my brands that I work with, Stephanie, in 75 industries, they have different skill sets that they need. So I have franchises that really value many different business skills.
That's an interesting one. I'm still trying to get straight to your story because you mentioned that you schooled in the US, you moved to Europe to work for a bit, then you came back to the US. So when you came back to the US, was that when you started the company, or you did something that was you'd worked in corporate America before branching out to entrepreneurship?
So I sold my business in Europe, right?
Okay.
And then came back to the United States. And this is
Mm,
what I decided in the United States was that I believe timing is everything in business, Stephanie. And so I had
yes.
the luck of starting real estate investment after 2008. So that was amazing, right? Because
That's
the kind of
very
I still own
smart
property.
move.
Yes, well, it was blind, dumb luck. Still have
Okay.
a portfolio now of
Mm-hmm.
single family residences in Texas. And
Okay.
what I found was that the big players were coming into my market. And in 2010, I realized that I'm really good at following process, but not so good at creating things from scratch. So decided to invest in an office cleaning master franchise in 2010. And that went really, really well. What happened is I want everyone to invest in franchises to have the same success that I had. Someone that owned the market next to mine decided to purchase mine for a good valuation. And
Nice.
after I did that, I decided to become a franchise coach and consultant.
Oh, okay, yeah. You have the track record for it. So, what are the metrics you look out for when choosing a business, when coaching your clients on investing in a particular franchise? What are the things you look out for so they don't end up making a bad deal?
Got it. So great question. It's not only one thing, it's many different things. And
Hmm,
frankly, that's why you can't go to ChatGPT or Grok or
definitely.
someplace else and say, hey, give me the perfect
God,
franchise. It's
yeah.
like, let's talk about some of the key ingredients, right? Let's talk about the most important ingredients because culture really eats strategy for breakfast. Does this person fit into this culture of this business, right? Let's
Okay.
talk about some other factors. Can they afford this business? Third
Hmm,
factor, does this business fit the geography of where they're coming at? I mean, I have some candidates that are frankly in places that are rural or don't necessarily have the same demographics as other places. And there's certain businesses that work great in New York or in
yeah.
Florida, but don't work as well in Iowa, right? And then other things about they talk about lifestyle and blue collar versus white collar employees. And I just want to make sure that all these things match what they're looking for. And obviously, the most important thing is profitability, right? But you could have the most amazing business in the world, but if you're not going to execute or if you're not the right profile, then you're not going to be successful.
That's true. That makes a lot of sense. But what's the typical time frame this whole thing takes? Because I know you have to do your due diligence, review, back and forth, and coming to the client to take a decision. What's the time frame this whole process takes?
So, Stephanie, I know that's an amazing question as well. Let's talk about
Mm.
two scenarios, right? So, first scenario is paralysis by analysis. If someone were to just kind of wake up one morning and say, and I've done this before, right? I did this 20
Mm.
years ago. I woke up
Yeah.
one day and I said, I'm going to be a franchise owner, right? And I went to Google because we didn't have Grok or ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy a franchise. I did some search and I might have talked to two or three or four and maybe talked to their head office. And then I just kind of, nothing happened at all. So the answer for that is, for the first scenario, is it takes forever because you're never going to buy anything that way. And if you do buy something,
Mm.
it's probably the wrong thing because you probably shouldn't have looked in general. Through my candidates, right? The fact that what we're doing is we're taking this universe of franchises that's endless and we're going ahead and narrowing it down to 75 different industries. And we're actually even narrowing down further, making a match that's personalized and that's really a great match. Because we're doing that, it's about 20 hours of research for my really successful candidates to say yes or
Wow.
no to these top three.
So when they say yes, what's the next step?
Then they invest. Then they go ahead and they send the money to the franchise brand in order to
Okay.
invest the
Mm-hmm.
franchise fee. And then depending on whether or not it's an E2 purchase or someone that's here already in the United States as a permanent resident or a green card holder or a citizen, then they
Yeah.
go ahead and they get started. And every business has different timelines. The businesses that I like very much are ones that are non-brick and mortar. Many people, when they think of
Mm.
franchising, Stephanie, they think fast
Yes,
food
definitely.
restaurants, flipping hamburgers in the back. I mean, I have businesses that you can kind of get ready and go within 2 weeks.
Nice. So do you work hand in hand with the US immigration, or
So
what's the regulatory constraints around it?
it's the E2 attorney that has all that information about
Okay.
which consulate and wait times. And I'm here just to give
Okay.
the right franchise business that is E2 friendly, that has a good track record with the consulate.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And I love what you're doing. And you've launched Franchise Visa, which helps foreign investors create secure US residency through franchising. Can you share a story of someone, a client, who not only got the visa, but their lives really transformed here in the US because of it?
Sure, absolutely. So one of my favorite people is a guy
Yeah.
that had a really great business in Holland. And
Cool.
he is an IT expert. And I gave him a couple options. He's like, no, this really this doesn't really resonate with me. And I gave a couple more. And he's like, wow, I didn't even know that this existed. It was actually an IT company, like what he already did, but allowed him
Yeah.
to move to Holland's great, but not as great in certain times of year when it's kind of cold and miserable. He now lives in
Mm.
California, right? And has this amazing lifestyle. His
Wow.
business is doing amazing. And that's what he does for a living now. He bought it, even though he's an IT expert, he was able to get the visa and he
Mhm.
has this experience that allowed him to take that business in Holland and to move it to the United States on a visa.
Wow, that's really amazing. That's transforming because you're not just changing his life, you're changing the life of his generation because now the kids can piggyback off from that legacy.
Yeah,
You're basically
absolutely.
that's interesting. So let's talk about your book, The Franchisee Lifestyle. At what point did you say, okay, I want to write a book about what I'm doing? What was the thing for you that made you that okay, I need to write a book right now? Why did you have to write a book right now? What's it about?
So I think that the reason why, and that's such a great
Yeah.
question, is that there are many misconceptions about franchising. But one of
Hmm.
the biggest ones is that I need to go ahead and I need to be the person in the back of that fast food restaurant. I'm going to be one flipping hamburgers. This is going to be an owner operator. I'm going to be buying a job. And what I would say is that the number one reason why people invest in franchises is because of lifestyle, right? Meaning they want to work on their own terms. They want to they're looking to escape something. Things such as, I mean, the candidates that I love the most are ones that, especially here in Houston, you mentioned the energy industry. Many
Yes.
people in Houston might have this amazing job that makes tons of money, but they literally are on the Gulf of America three times, like
Mm.
3 out of every 4 weeks every year. So I'm sorry, every month. I mean, you could have horrible lifestyle. Talk to people. I talked to a guy yesterday, and he told me he's like, I love my job and it's great, but I can't turn off. I've missed my kids' sporting events and theater, and
Wow.
that's really what franchising is about. To kind of work on your own terms, not to not work per se, but to work and to work when you want to and have that freedom and have a
Yeah,
lifestyle.
and basically to own the part of work that you enjoy doing, because it's not all part of the work a business owner likes to do, but they have to do it. But when you franchise it, you basically sell that responsibility to another person and leverage of the freedom to do what you actually enjoy doing, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is.
Nice. So, what was your reaction? What was the reaction you got from your clients and your family when you wrote the book? How did the whole process go for you? What was the breaking points? What was the highs and the lows and you faced writing the book? Because I know writing a book can be very tedious, and you have it, and now you're best selling at it.
So, what I would say, Stephanie, is that it's actually really fun to write a
Mm-hmm.
book. I love the experience, and I'm always thinking of new relevant things to write about related to books in general. I've written 2 books. The other one was about the COVID era, which is obviously not as valid or relevant right now. What was most exciting was the process of actually being the audio author of to narrate the book afterwards. My good friend in Washington State, I recorded at his studio, and that was a
Wow.
very rewarding experience for me to be the one to read the book.
Wow, that's really great. You've also built a multi-million-dollar operation with Vanguard Cleaning,
Yes.
leading dozens of franchises. What did that experience teach you about leadership and scaling that you still carry with you today?
So it's interesting you should ask that because I actually am a huge believer in real world experience. So I
Hmm.
actually learned more as a franchise entrepreneur than I learned in business school.
Okay.
So it's just, yeah, fascinating because it's all on the line and it's on your shoulders and just kind of things to think about. What
Hmm.
I, what I really learned most is it's about, I believe, really truly believe that success is in the agency of others. And so one of the challenges of an office cleaning business is that you don't necessarily have the resources to pay market rate to your employees. So you kind of have to be creative when you're trying to
Hmm.
find people that are working with you, finding talent. And my strategy was to find people that were relatively young in their career and find these hidden gem talented people and kind of develop them. Now, that was extremely rewarding for me.
I know that building a franchise involves you delegating a lot of stuff to people that you can trust. What was your strategy about team building, building the right team, choosing the right people, and delegating that level of responsibility?
So I'm really blessed. I've been a member of Entrepreneurs Organization for over 10 years now. And
Okay.
I think there's a huge value in having peers that you can kind of ask questions to and kind of feed off of questions that you might ask and just kind of feed off of their energy and see what they do.
Right.
There's something called a daily huddle. And it's something where you just kind of are aligned. And on a daily basis, people talk for 20 or 30 minutes. And look, that is not my strength as a business owner, right? There's a thing called a visionary and an
Yeah.
integrator. But when I had my integrator run these calls, that was very powerful for me. When we kind of were aligned as a team and really empowering people and setting expectations and setting incentives that would allow them to do those things, that was really rewarding for me.
So, what's the strategy around building your team, like choosing the right people on your
Absolutely.
team?
Hiring slow and firing quickly.
So, what does hiring slow mean to you?
It means really getting to know people, right? I mean,
Right.
like just not just hiring anyone, but just kind of get it, like using things like tests to kind of see if someone fits that mold. Hiring for culture again, not necessarily for experience. I
Yeah.
mean, if someone has the right sort of vibe, then they're probably going to be a good employee.
Nice. So, to take you back to what you said earlier, you said the process, you've never seen anyone that hasn't been approved for this E2 visa before. A lot of people feel overwhelmed when it comes to process like this because of the red tape that can make it overwhelming. How do you help your clients simplify the process? Let them know that, okay, this is not going to take as long as you think it's going to take. You just need the right guidance, the right documents, and you're good to go.
There's really no red tape with this. It's literally a situation where, I mean, this is easy. It's a
Mm,
situation where you literally raise your hand, you go to a great attorney, right? Happy to connect people with wonderful attorneys. The attorney navigates you through the process. They say, hey, this is the person you're going to meet with. This is the documentation, and then you get your visa. We're not talking. I mean,
yeah.
I have never heard anyone saying, "Oh my gosh, this is challenging. I'm so nervous for my interview with the consulate." It's a fear that is misplaced in E2 visas for sure.
Can you share one of your biggest wins? The biggest deal you closed, and you're like, okay, this is what makes sense for me. This is worth it, and this is why I'll continue on this path. What was that thing
Great
that
question.
basically struck gold for you?
So look, I've been doing this role of connecting people to franchise brands for about 8 years now, right? And
Oh,
actually, I think it's over 8 years, 8.5 years now. And I can tell you that it's hard to start, right? Meaning when you first start out, you don't
yeah.
know what to do or what not to do. And one of my biggest situation that was great is I had this amazing couple in Houston. They just wanted a change with their work life. And I connected them with an
Okay.
amazing brand that was in the
Mm,
fitness and wellness industry. I myself am passionate about fitness and wellness. So I love connecting people with brands that I have a personal emotional attachment to. And
mm,
they decided to invest in a assisted stretching studio, which is just an amazing business. It's
okay.
higher margins than massage therapy. And the business just makes sense because it's a very small footprint. And they were able to build that up into many units and a very successful operation.
Wow. That's I'm just like you keep sharing it, and I'm taking everything in, and it's just making a lot of sense because I've never thought about franchising in this dimension you're bringing it. So it's really crazy. I know franchising is always evolving. What industries or trends are you most excited about right now? And for someone who is thinking about taking that first step into ownership, what's your big advice for them?
So let's talk about both questions. Let's divide them in two. So the first question is, what
Yeah.
trends do I see? And the second
Yes.
question would be, what advice do I have for someone that's looking to get into this industry? The first trend, which
Okay.
I think is fantastic for potential franchisees, is there's a growing trend of franchise brands to be open to semi-absentee ownership. And so my example
Mm,
for you, Stephanie, is this. I have a great guy who's actually a pastor during the day, and his secret sauce is he's just a great semi-absentee manager, meaning he kind of comes with his staff at 8:30 in the morning, has coffee with them, trusts them and empowers them, and they're able to run that business for the rest of the day, whatever that is. And he's able to do his pastoral work during the day
mm,
when his staff is running that business during the day, right? He's a semi-absentee owner. So the fact that franchise brands are more and more open to people that have that capability to run a business part-time is very lucrative and a very good situation for business owners, because a lot of times these people have amazing day jobs, but they're willing to spend part-time but not willing to spend their full-time in the business at the
full time
beginning. And
there.
this really opens up franchise ownership for these people. Whereas in the past, many franchise brands would not allow anyone to actually buy their franchise if they weren't willing to commit to full-time ownership and quit their day job. The
Mm,
other thing I want to say to you, the advice that I have is, as we mentioned earlier, you can do this investigation one of two ways. You can kind of go on the internet and look. My advice
yeah.
is to call me. I have free 15-minute conversations. This is not a sales pitch. Believe me, I have plenty of candidates, but I truly believe
Definitely.
that it's much better than the alternative. Just have a 15-minute
Mm,
chat with me and I'll tell you if I think you're a fit for franchising or not. That's the advice that I would have for someone, because it's so much better than the alternative and it's free. So you really have nothing
yes.
to lose.
Amazing. And I know that you have a lot of people that call you, that reach out to you, and a lot of these people actually meet the criteria. But has there been any instance where you see this person ticks all the boxes, but you just had this gut feeling that I don't want to work with this person?
Well, let me turn this around, right? Let me turn this around. Like,
Yeah.
so when you mean boxes, meaning it's like, okay, do they have enough money, or is it
So they have
they have
enough
enough
money,
money?
the business is right, but you just don't want to work with this person because you know when we started the conversation, you're like, oh, you like my vibe. you like this energy. So has there been any put-offs from any of your deals in the past where you like, okay, in as much as this person is, it looks good on paper, but I still have this gut feeling I don't want to work with this person. Has there
If
been any situation
I
like that?
can't think of any specific situations, right, where I've made
Okay.
a match and I'm like, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, I should have made the match," in hindsight. Maybe afterwards, it might not have worked out because not all of my connections work out, unfortunately, right? But when
Okay.
I do the match, it's never I would not make a match if I didn't think that they were a good fit.
Okay, that makes sense. What's your biggest advice for business owners that want to go into franchising in terms of the mindset? Mindset is a very big thing in business. How would you advise them to change their mind to this opportunity? Because a lot of people, like you said, want to be involved full time in the roles, but this is an opportunity where they can take a step back and allow the business to run by itself.
So franchising's not for everyone, right? Certain people are different
Mm,
entrepreneurs. If you're the kind of entrepreneur that doesn't
yeah.
like following direction or business models, then you shouldn't invest in a franchise, right? If you are the kind of person that sees value in process or system and replicating that system, then you could potentially be a
Mm,
very successful franchisee. And I really truly believe that a franchise owner is different than a typical entrepreneur. It's a different type of entrepreneurship. And it could potentially be very scalable and very lucrative, but you've got to have the right mindset for that.
nice. Do you advise that people, when people go into business, they have the mindset to franchise it, or it's more of something you do along the lines of scaling?
So, is the question, do I advise people should become franchisees at the beginning or
Like, yeah, having that consciousness that, oh, you should have this pathway for your business. You should plan to franchise it at some point to scale it even faster.
oh,
Is
you're
it
talking
an advice
to
you would
become a franchisor is what you're saying, right? To become
exactly?
okay. So
Yes,
look, that's
franchisor.
interesting. You should mention that. I actually do not help companies to franchise their business. Many people call me and say, "Hey, Adam, I
Yeah.
have the next McDonald's. Could you please help me to get this, or could you sell this concept?"
Hmm.
What I would say for that is that people as a franchisor tends to be people that underestimate how difficult it is to be a successful franchisor. There's lots of money on the same token that you asked about what kind of mindset do you need to become a franchisee? If you're looking to
Yeah.
sell a franchise and to become a franchisor, that's a much different mindset than running a successful business. Marketing is very expensive. Providing support to your franchisees is very challenging. So there are many things that are involved with that.
Oh, nice. I like the way you broke it down, and it makes a lot of sense. And on a personal note, you often talk about building an integrated life, balancing vision, relationships, health, and business. How do you make that work in your own life, especially as a father of three? And what advice would you give others that are trying to juggle it all?
I love it. I love it. So I think the first advice, and this is just for everyone, right? But
Mm,
to really understand what your priorities are.
okay.
I've had a situation in my life that by force, right? I have been, I had twins that I lost. They were
Oh,
born
so
prematurely.
sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, besides being really devastating, it really made me realize how precious life is and how important it is to really make the most of every moment. And my three daughters, right?
Mm,
I wake up every day and actually, because of my experience in the past, I know how important it is for me to be a present dad. Everything else is not as important, right? So I have clarity personally. And so what I would say to people is ask yourself, what is most important to you when it comes to what are you going to spend your focus and energy on? And look, my work
mm,
life and my is a very important part. I need to have meaning in my life. This provides meaning for me, helping people. If I look at from a personal point of view, right?
mm,
I really believe that if there's a why, there's a how, right?
mm,
And my why for taking care of myself when it comes to exercise and eating well is I
mm.
want to be there for my kids. I'm not a young dad, right? And I have to work extra hard. That really is my compass, right? So that's what I would say as well.
I love the way you put it, what meaning means to you. Find out what's dear to your heart, what's meaning means for you, and prioritize it. So basically prioritize what's most important to you. Spending time with your kids, being there for your family, and making the most of the moment. And the final question, in 10 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, What's the legacy you want to leave as Adam Goldman? What do you want franchise Visa to leave as a company and as a personal brand for yourself?
I measure
Yeah.
business success by how many people we've impacted, right?
Mm.
By how many lives we've changed, right? So it's about how many people's lives have gotten better. I actually keep in contact with my placements, and I just spoke with one of my favorite placements in Boise, Idaho,
Ooh.
which is not a bustling metropolis. But if I look at his life
Not yet.
beforehand, he literally commuted 2 or 3 hours to get to his previous company, and he was miserable away from his family. Now he has a successful franchise. He's the second highest in the country. He's
Wow.
able to, it's a local business. He has no commute, and he's just excited and ecstatic. And that's what gets me up in the morning.
Wow. That's
So I want more
amazing.
Boise, Idahos.
More lives changing.
Yes.
More time, making more time for what's meaningful. That is very interesting. And I'm sure with everything we've shared on this podcast, your name is already in the globe and you're sharing your message out there. So that, Adam, that takes us to the second part of the segment. It's called the Firecracker round. So this is just me hitting you with a bunch of questions and you hitting me right back with the first answer that comes to mind. So drum roll, amazing. So if you could franchise any business that doesn't exist yet, what would it be?
Wow. This is hard right here. I heard a great idea before. I'm trying to think
Okay.
about oh, you know what? I have it.
Yeah, okay, let's hear it.
Something related to dogs. I think it was some sort of, there's dog grooming, right? But there are other things related to dogs that have not really been franchised yet that I think would be really interesting.
Oh, that's even dog grooming. It's okay. That's a very good one. What's one book other than your own that you think other entrepreneurs should read? I know they should all
Everyone
read.
should read the book called The E-Myth by
E-Myth.
Gerber.
Okay.
Yes, and it talks about the pitfalls of not having process in your business.
Nice. So coffee, tea, or something stronger, which helps you close more deals?
Neither. Only water. Water, no
Yes.
caffeine.
No caffeine, no added sugars, just water.
Absolutely, just
Keep it healthy. So if franchising wasn't in the picture, what industry would you be building right now?
I already am doing it now. I mean, I love real estate. It's a passion of mine.
Nice.
I think it's a great engine to build wealth. Not necessarily quickly, but slowly if you make the right investment. So that's an industry of very much interest of mine.
Nice. I know a lot of our audience would want to reach out to you and contact you. So how can we reach you? Website?
Best way is
socials?
two ways, and it's just it's a free 15-minute chat.
Mm.
It's franchiseadam.com. Schedule a free 15-minute chat there. Also, by the way, look at franchisevisa.net, right? That will also have a connection for me, or franchisecoach.net. You can also sign up there.
Nice. I'll make sure I put the links in the description of the video so our guests can go there and check it out. But Adam, it's been an amazing time speaking with you today. I love how you broke down franchising. You basically demystified this side of business for us, because this is the first time we're having someone talk about franchising on the show, and I'm really grateful for you spending your time sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Adam. And there we have it, guys. Let's continue to turn knowledge into action and breaks into banks. If you like what you heard today, make sure to like, subscribe, and give us a follow. And you can leave comments and also ask Adam more questions. Reach out to him, and he's there to show you the right way. So we come your way again next week. This has been Breaks and Banks with Steph, and this is me signing out.